Hello and welcome to my channel. If you enjoy ghost stories, strange stories, paranormal, you've come to the right place. All of my videos are either soft spoken or whispered. So today we're going to dive in to some haunted hotels, motels, and inns. So before we get started, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as well as the like and notification bell. It kind of lets me know what you're thinking. If you have a story, comment below. I love to read it on a future broadcast. So let's go ahead and begin. Haunted hotels across North America. There are many haunted hotels and motels in North America. Here are just a few of favorites. St. James Hotel in New Mexico. Not sure how to pronounce the name of the town, so I'll spell it. Cimaro. Oh, no, let me try that again. Cimaro. New Mexico. A glimpse of an old guest register at the St. James Hotel reads like a who's who of the Wild West. Billy the Kid, Pat Garrett, Bat Masterson, Black Jack Ketchum, Doc Holliday, Buffalo Bill Cody, and the list goes on. Almost any room in this 120-year hotel, a favorite of gunfighters in the 1880s, will produce an active spirit encounter. According to yellowed newspaper accounts, 26 people have died violently at the St. James. In the dining room, coiling remains pockmarked with bullet holes. If you should decide to give the St. James a try, it would probably be best to avoid room 18. Things got a little too wild in that room back in the 1880s, and the spirits there are too hostile and aggressive for most folks. Bartenders and chefs in the hotel complain that food and crockery disappear from under their noses. Bottles and glasses float in the air and sometimes shatter in loud explosions. A lot of gunfighters checked into this hotel, a bartender exclaimed, but their spirits have never got around to checking out. The Mission of San Antonio de Padua, California. There are guest accommodations in the old Mission of San Antonio de Padua. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Located in the central California mountains of the Santa Lucia Range, 30 miles north of Paso Robles. Constructed in 1771, the mission remains enchanted, spiritual, haunted place. If you can make arrangements to stay overnight, you might very well catch sight of the ghosts of several monks, the benevolent spirit of Father John Baptist, and the mysterious entity that manifests as a headless woman on horseback. The monks who reside in the mission speak of having often seen a small colored cloud about 3 feet square and about 8 feet high above the tile roof over the woman's guest quarters. The cloud changes color from white to green to blue, then yellow and red. On numerous occasions in recent years, the mission has been the scene of remarkable spiritual conversions and hearings, and the monks speak of some miracles, as the appearance of white and purple violets on certain graves within the courtyard. The Dorrington Hotel, Dorrington, California. The ghost of Rebecca Dorrington walks at night in this 120-year-old hotel in the tiny High Sierra hamlet of Dorrington. The town itself was named for Rebecca, the Scottish bride of John Gardiner, an 1850s homesteader who also built the old hotel. Rebecca's eerie nocturnal repertoire consists of banging doors open and shut, flashing lights on and off, and shifting furniture about. Some guests have been treated to a ghostly reenactment of Rebecca's fatal tumble down a back stairwell, an accident that cost her her life in 1870. The Brookdale Lodge in the Santa Cruz Mountains. The sprawling Brookdale Lodge, built in 1924 in the Santa Cruz Mountains near Boulder Creek, California, was a popular hideaway for gangland kingpins in the 1930s. Later, the lodge was a favorite of film legends Marilyn Monroe, Joan Crawford, and Tyrone Power. The colorful inn, which features a brook running through the dining room, has a number of cold spots which indicate haunted areas. The most frequently cited spirit entity is that of a small girl dressed very formally in 1940s style clothing. The ghost is thought to be that of the 5-year-old who drowned in the brook sometime in the late 1940s. Hotel Monte Vista, Flagstaff, Arizona. The picturesque old Monte Vista Hotel provides a marvelous place for an overnight stay on the way to or from the Grand Canyon. Guests who stay there may encounter the phantom bellboy, who knocks on doors and announces room service in a muffled voice. Others claim to have seen the wispy image of a woman strolling through an upstairs corridor. San Carlos Hotel, Phoenix, Arizona. Guests have complained about the noisy children in the halls. When they are informed that there are no children running around about unattended, some annoyed patrons have set about trying to prove they aren't going crazy by catching the shouting, squealing, laughing kids who are disturbing their relaxation and sleep. Some frustrated guests who have nearly grabbed one of the little rascals have been astounded to see the child disappear before their eyes. The only explanation that some investigators have offered for this phenomenon is the fact that the old San Carlos Hotel was built sometime in the late 1920s on the site of Phoenix's first Adobe Elementary School. Perhaps psychically sensitive guests are hearing and seeing the ghost of school children from long ago. The Horton Grand Hotel, San Diego, California. There are so many ghosts at the historic Old Horton Grand Hotel in San Diego that the entities often get together and hold dances. Shelley D., who lived at the hotel for 2 years, claimed to have watched a group of 15 to 20 ghosts dressed in the style of the 1890s have a dance in the third floor ballroom. It was only after she had watched them for a while that Shelley realized that there was something very strange about the costumed dancers. No one paid the slightest attention to her. Everyone appeared to ignore her when she spoke. Then she noticed that there was something very eerie about their eyes, kind of dark and hollow. The ghostly figures didn't seem to mind the intrusion of her physical presence. Shelley wondered if she were observing the recreation of some past scene that had once occurred in the hotel. She remembered that they swung their partners round and round and seemed to be having a great time. Room 309 receives the most nominations for most haunted in the Horton Grand. Research has revealed that a gambler named Roger Whittaker was murdered in that room in the 1800s. Dan Pearson, the owner of the Horton Grand, said that he first became aware that there were strange things happening in room 309 when he brought a workman in to renovate it in 1986. Later, as Pearson walked by the room with a psychically talented friend, the man stopped suddenly and said, "There's something going on in that room. I feel it strongly." 3 months later, Pearson said that a guest at the hotel staying in room 309 found her young daughter carrying on an animated conversation with someone else in the room. "Don't you see him, Mommy?" the girl asked incredulously. "Don't you see that man in our room?" Our son-in-law, John T., a media specialist, was in San Diego for a few years ago, filming some of the unique architecture of various structures when one of his technicians shared an experience from his own stay at Horton Grand. He called the front desk to complain that the people above him were making too much noise, as if they were marching up and down the hall. John told us. The front desk clerk responded, "Sir, there is no floor above you. Perhaps you should have read the diary on the mantel." The technician checked and found that the diary filled with guest experiences with ghosts through the years at the Horton Grand. Hotel del Coronado, San Diego. In another of San Diego's haunted hotels, the Hotel del Coronado, where our son-in-law and his crew were filming in a convention, he said that one of the technicians reluctantly admitted that an invisible someone had brushed against him when no one was around. After they had completed filming the function, they were assigned to cover. The entire crew heard strange booming noises coming from the balcony loft area where there was no living visible person. Our son-in-law's technician may have brushed up against Kate Morgan, the Hotel del Coronado's principal resident ghost, who died of a gunshot wound to the head. The action was officially ruled a suicide. Kate's body was found in November 1892 on an exterior staircase leading to the beach. Although most of the sightings of Kate have occurred on the beach and in hotel hallways, room 3327, where Kate stayed, seems to be the center of the most paranormal phenomenon. The Old Stagecoach Inn, Waterbury, Vermont. Margaret Spencer, a once wealthy, vivacious beauty who died in 1943 at the age of 98, haunts room 2 of the Old Stagecoach Inn in Waterbury, Vermont. Margaret is often glimpsed in a wispy white shawl, and she loves to play tricks on her guests. 50 ghosts walk the streets and hotel hallways of Nantucket Island. Almost any place of lodging near Nantucket's historic section harbors its share of unseen ghosts or guests. Even the Coast Guard station is haunted. When author Peter Benchley was on the island writing his bestseller, Jaws, he encountered the ghost of an old man dressed in 18th century clothing. The entity sat in front of a fireplace in a rocking chair, and Benchley insists that he was not dreaming. Kennebunk Inn in Kennebunkport, Maine. This 200-year-old inn is haunted by a friendly ghost named Silas, who delights in levitating champagne glasses and tossing beer mugs around the bar. The phantom shade of Silas Perkins has haunted the inn since his demise in the 18th century, and weekend vacationers flock there in hopes of getting one of his spiritual uplifts. The Kennebunk Inn is a favorite of former President George H.W. Bush because it is near his seafront estate. The Misfits Inn, Southbury, Connecticut. This 165-year-old inn is haunted by a ghost known affectionately as Sadie the Lady, a prostitute who practiced her profession at the inn in the 1890s. Sadie had the misfortune to fall in love with a married patron who claimed that he returned the heartfelt emotion. However, when Sadie approached her lover when he was dining at the inn with his wife, he denied knowing her. 2 days later, Sadie was found unalive in her room above the tower in an apparent endgame. I can't say the word because YouTube might flag it. Ever since her tragic end, Sadie has been held responsible for strange noises coming from empty rooms, overturned chairs in the bar, and water being dumped on unsuspecting patrons and employees. King's Tavern, Natchez, Mississippi. In the late 1700s, Madeline was the mistress of Richard King, the tavern's namesake, until she was unalived, I guess I could say that way, unalived, by his jealous wife. For over 200 years, Madeline's restless and angry ghost has been held responsible for every squeak, rattle, and rap in the tavern. Patrons regularly report seeing Madeline's large portrait swing back and forth, and some have claimed to have seen the ghost of a slender woman who stands defiantly before them, her hands on her hips. To add to the color and allure of the haunted tavern, in the 1930s, a woman's skeleton was found sealed in a brick fireplace with a bejeweled dagger in her chest. The only guest suite remaining in King's Tavern is on the 3rd floor. After the restaurant section closes, the occupants of the room are left alone in the tavern with Madeline's ghost. According to the proprietors, many guests check in, but few remain to check out in the morning. General Wayne Inn, Marion, Pennsylvania. Located on the old Lancaster roadway between Philadelphia and Radnor, the establishment has been in continuous operation since 1704, when Robert Jones, a Quaker, decided to provide travelers with a restaurant and a place of lodging. During the Revolutionary War, the establishment, originally called the Wayside Inn, played host to General George Washington and the Marquis de Lafayette, as well as a number of other adversaries in the British redcoats and their mercenaries. The Wayside was renamed the General Wayne Inn in 1793 in honor of a local hero, General Anthony Wayne. When Barton Johnson bought the General Wayne Inn in 1970, he was well aware of its reputation for being haunted. Previous guests had claimed encounters with the ghosts of men dressed in Revolutionary-era uniforms. The ghost of Edgar Allan Poe, a frequent guest when he was alive, according to the old register, had been reported in a room known as the Franklin Post Office. Employees working in the bar area, as well as the guests seated there, often saw dozens of wine and other liquor glasses in a wooden rack begin to shake violently for no apparent reason. In 1972, New Jersey psychics Jean and Bill Quinn conducted a seance in which at least 17 different entities declared their presence and provided a bit of their personal history. When Wilhelm, a Hessian soldier killed in the Revolutionary War, identified himself through the mediums, he explained most of the time he liked to stay down in the cellar. As part of the restaurant's maitre d' was concerned, Wilhelm could have the cellar to himself. He had seen the ghost so often that he finally told Barton Johnson that he would no longer go down to the cellar. In addition to Wilhelm, the mediums identified a little boy ghost who cried for his lost mother, 2 female entities who had worked at the inn and had unalived their young under bizarre circumstances, 8 other Hessian soldiers who had once been quartered at the inn and who were unalived nearby in battle, a Native American who seemed primarily to be watching the other entities, and an African American who chose to remain silent. The spirits of the Hessians had been seen by many customers and employees over the years. Usually they played harmless pranks such as blowing on the necks of young women, but one of their spectral ranks enjoyed terrifying any employee whose job it was to stay after closing and clean up. Ludwig, the spirit of a Hessian soldier, materialized for many nights in the bedroom of Mike Bignot, a contractor. Ludwig appealed to Bignot to unearth his bones, which had been buried in the basement of the inn, and give them a proper burial in the cemetery. When Barton Johnson returned from a vacation, Bignot asked permission to excavate a certain area of the cellar that was under the parking lot. Here, Bignot found fragments of pottery, some human bones. After giving the remains a proper burial, the ghost of Ludwig was at peace and no longer manifested at the General Wayne Inn. One night, Johnson placed a tape recorder in the bar. The next morning, during playback, he could clearly hear the sounds of bar stools being moved about, the water faucet being turned on and off, and glasses catching the water. Jim Webb and his partner Guy Saleo bought the inn in 1995. Webb was found unalived, if you will, in his office on December 27th, 1996, and Felicia Moise, a 20-year-old assistant chef, unalived herself on February 22nd, 1997. Some people felt that the place had added 2 more ghosts to its roster. A phantom Nazi officer haunts a hotel in Ontario. According to reports coming out of Gravenhurst, Ontario, Canada, in September 1968, a deserted hotel was hosting a most unusual kind of ghost for North America. A Nazi officer wearing a German uniform with a swastika cross attached to his jacket was seen on numerous occasions. One girl told a story of being lifted off the ground and dropped by the ghost, and her account was backed up by the corroborating testimony of several witnesses. A teenager said that he had reached out to touch the phantom and had found the thing to be very cold. Actually, the appearance of a Nazi ghost in Canada is not as strange as it may seem. The old hotel at which the ghost has been sighted used to house German prisoners during World War II. Observers have seen the ghost loitering in the dining room and strolling across the grounds. Others have seen the entity as a black cloud drifting across the yard, ranging from 6 to 8 feet in height. Those who observed the thing in either guise affirm that it was a creature of habit. It always seemed to appear between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. and usually followed the same route from the dining room to a certain point on the grounds. Well, that's it for this session. If you like these kind of videos, go ahead and hit the subscribe, like, and notification bell. I will be trying to upload every Monday and Thursday. So, until then, stay just a little scared.